That music,
right? It's just
some fool singing in the background. I don't know.
Right. Waiting for that LP to drop.
Yes, I know, man. Got to have some time. Maybe over the Christmas holidays, we'll see what happens.
Oh, there you go. 100%.
All right, everybody. Hey, welcome back to Comics Carnales. I am your co-host, David Bulls, award-winning author, translator, blah, 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 blah. A lot of really cool stuff from Deep South Texas, La Mera Frontera. And with me tonight is my co-host and co-publisher of Chispa, the award-winning Chicano comic book creator, Héctor Rodriguez.
Saludos.
Tercero. You got to have a kid named Héctor so you can have el cuarto y el quinto. You know,
oh, that's mi lo cambió. Lo tengo,
huh?
pero
but you didn't change it. You didn't name him Héctor? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, because it's like, you know.
We need a grandkid. We need a grandkid.
With me, you know, and it's like, I want him to start fresh, you know, not have that pressure, la presión.
Got it. Yeah, no, I mean, because there's been a bunch of David, Oscar in my family, and I also did not name any of my sons. But then my grandkid is named David Nicancoyo, but David is Scottish Gaelic for David.
Yes.
It's the same thing, right? But no one's going to call him David, so it's kind of cool. And of course, for those of you who don't know, Héctor is a native of the border town of Eagle Pass, Texas, upriver from where I live. He's the creator of the long-running indie comic El Peso Hero, co-founder of Texas Latino Comic Con. He also serves as director of development for Masked Republic, where he oversees the creative development of Masked Republic Lucha media properties. And you continue to like cause just stirring stuff up, man. In the
right. World. You see that? Some of that, man.
What are you doing?
I don't know. He's, you know, it's like I think he's my alter ego. You know,
this guy that's out that looks a lot like you, that wears the mirror sunglasses.
Yeah, just the douchey sunglasses that one way.
The douchey sunglasses and like the real tight white button-up shirt. Yeah. Did you find somebody to be your tag team partner?
You know what? I guess you'll find out soon.
Ooh,
you know,
I'm fascinated to find out. So yeah, he does. He moonlights as a rudo. He is a real heel. But not in real life. In real life, he's a sweet.
Oh yeah. That's somebody else. You know,
that's the Dr. Jekyll to your Mr. Hyde. So Héctor, why don't you fill us in? What's the latest? What's going on up there?
Yeah, well, you know, we have we have a lot of, you know, with the, you know, one thing that I really like to notice the fact that if you're looking out to purchase things for the holidays, you know, definitely support your independent creators out there, you know, that support your independent publishers as well. And of course, there's nothing like getting a brand new Chispa book too, you know, like Black Demon, 100%. Mm-hmm. Get it through chispacomics.com.
You wouldn't want to have that massive megalodon shoved in their Christmas stocking. I mean, come on, guys.
Right, and now you're able to get the full set for about $16.99, I believe, through Scout. It's like it's a combination. So check it out. It is actually the Black Demon Tales is pretty high up there on the popular Chispa titles. And so I recommend, you know, if you're looking for something new, you know, of course, support everyone, you know, but if you're looking for some Chispa titles, you know, of course, we have Sopilote #1. And of course, Pyroclast, which will be dropping according to Lunar next week. Got to check.
Right. Then, of course, we will have the Wake right around Christmas time, and we are super happy that to be talking a little bit more about that great comic in a bit. When you and I were thinking, when they brought us on board to be the co-publishers of Chispa Comics, we knew that we wanted to do a superhero universe. Remember? We were just like, you got to do it. How can you have a comics imprint and not do a comics universe? And
yeah, especially since you're growing up, you know, with popular titles like, you know, X-Men, you know, JLA, Justice, you know, so it's always it's the superhero trope that. And but we're the first ones to actually, through direct market, to actually have our first Latine hero group, grounded in our world, and with a very diverse voices of different artistic representations, right?
Yeah, and we wanted to be really authentic about it. And when we decided that our first superhero group was gonna be Mexican and Mexican American, because hello, you and I are Mexican American, we were like, well, what does it mean to be Mexican, right? There's just it is like this catch-all nationality or ethnicity, right?
And I'll tell you this, and I just noticing, in our notes, with our identities of being mestizo, indigenous, Black, Asian, and yes, even Mexicans, Whitexicans,
White,
which is a hashtag that
hashtags Whitexicans, right? They're Whitexicans, or however. We'll have to get like Reina to explain how to pronounce this word, but this is like a term that's used in Mexico all the time for like white Mexicans,
that's close to home, para mí. That's
Scots, Irish, and Mexican over here, bro. Yes,
especially the TikToks with the Whitexicans talking, and I know my primos are watching, con mucho respeto, I've been there, lo veo, ahí está.
And so, it is really important for us to if we're going to build out a team, to have them not all be a bunch of like light-skinned mestizos. That would not be representative of the full gamut of Mexican American identity. And so, we worked really hard, and that's this upcoming hero that we have. We've had Sopilote, who is from Mexico City. We have had Pyroclast, like you said, the comic is dropping next week, who is like a güero from Southern California, and then the Wake is from the Houston area, and she's Afro-Latina. And we have some indigenous heroes down the road. We have people of varying degrees of varying like skin types and body types and different orientations and genders. We have a non-binary Chispa coming down the road as well. And it's just important. We value those things. Our family members are filled with those identities. My half brother Fernando is Afro-Mexicano. These are things that like matter to us in terms of not only do we want to represent the community accurately, we represent our own families accurately. And so I think it was really, really important to us that when crafting characters, we do that. And then bringing on writers and illustrators as well, that we think about those things. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about this, because what we want to talk about with the creators is their creative process and the craft of it. But we did want to, to broadly talk about the fact that is why we do what we do, and why we make an effort to bring aboard people who are often not, the people in people's mind. Unfortunately, when people think about, let's put together a panel of Mexican writers, they tend to choose a bunch of like white presenting, mestizos, and that is really, really unfortunate that's the default, and we have to work really, really hard to change that. And so, our guests, an incredible slate of people that we have here tonight to talk to. 3 different people that work together to bring you this incredible origin story of Estela, the Wake. First is Jasminne Méndez, and she is a Dominican American poet, playwright, translator, and award-winning author of books for children and adults. Her most recent publication, Anina del Mar Jumps In, is a novel in verse, and a really, really good one, that has received starred reviews from Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, School Library Journal, etc. And it's already made its way onto a bunch of the best of the year lists that have been coming out. And I'm pretty certain that when award season rolls around, we're going to hear it on, picked for multiple different things. So I'm super, super happy to have Jasminne. And with her is
Lupe Méndez, originally from Galveston. Lupe Méndez is a Chicano writer, educator, and activist, winner of multiple awards and fellowships. Méndez is one of the founders of the Libro Traficante movement.
Woohoo!
Yeah, awesome. and Tintero Projects, a Texas-based organization that works with emerging Latina writers and other writers of color within the Gulf Coast region. Méndez served as the 2022-2023 Texas Poet Laureate, right? That's how you pronounce it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He lives in Houston, H-Town, where he has worked as an educator for the last 22 years.
Yes.
Awesome.
And there they are together because yes, they are husband and wife. So such a delight to have you. And also joining us tonight is Rey Pelcastre. She's a designer and illustrator from Coyoacán, Mexico, who calls herself, and this is what she calls herself in Spanish, Afro-Mexicana Lencha Disléxica y Nerd, which we might translate as a queer dyslexic Afro-Mexican nerd. Among her various projects is the really, really wonderful picture book, Mi Pelo Chino y Shishiniyu Chino, written by Junko Gata, an incredible writer, and translated into Mixtec by Nadia Lopez. So let's welcome Rey to the screen. Hola, Rey.
Hey.
What a great group. This was such an awesome creative team. We're going to give you guys lots of time talking about whatever you want, but we've set up some questions to kind of start the conversation. And I know that suddenly Jasmine and Lupe's little one, Luz, might pop up and have some opinion. So just get ready if that happens, everyone. It's great. It's wonderful. All right, Hector, you have a question to start with. Why don't you?
Yeah, so it's been a very interesting journey, because we also, within the Chispaverse, bringing different creators, we also want to bring creators that are from different artistic, diverse backgrounds and into skill sets. And so in terms of craft, what challenges and joys did writing a comic book script represent to you all?
Yeah, to Jasmine and Lupe. What was it? Because you guys, as far as I know, I mean, you like comics, but you've never written one, right?
So Lupe, yes, Lupe is a very big, avid comic book reader. I myself am actually not as adept at sort of the comic book world and writing and what that looked like, which is why when David approached me to write this, I was like, only if Lupe can help. if I can collaborate with Lupe, because I know that's his jam. And so for me, the challenge was just kind of really better understanding and learning the craft of it and the structure. And, I think being a poet helps because of the economy of language, right? Like you have to keep it. And I know our first couple drafts were wordy. And so we kept going nah, we got to slash some stuff and we got to make it less, cause it was, I was trying to do too much. We were trying to do too much as far as the story goes, and try to get it all in there sort of in the frame. Right. Cause that was something that's just not how I typically think about sort of writing and plotting and structuring a story. And so really thinking in that way, and also thinking, right, similar, I guess, in a way to the picture books of what can the illustrator do and show that we don't necessarily need words for. And so really thinking through that, having Lupe there to definitely help. And he really sort of created, and he can talk about it himself, but sort of the step-by-step, this is going to happen, plot point by plot point. And then me going in and filling in some of those details or making some of the language between some of the teenage girls a little bit more realistic. I was like, I was like, girls don't talk like this. So we need to adjust. So that was, and I think it was this the first, we worked on a couple poems together and we have done a collaborative performance piece together, but this is definitely sort of the first in our genre, in this genre to collaborate in a piece of writing in this way. Because usually when we collaborate, it's I've written something, he's written something, and then we find a way to merge it together. And this we were really kind of developing from the ground up juntos, as a team. So I don't know, what were your thoughts? I had an enjoyable experience. I don't know. Maybe you would say the same.
So this is why she wanted to be in the same room with you, bro. So do I have to log in on my own device, or can I be on the same screen?
That's the right. So when word came through and we were going to do this, I had a total fanboy moment and almost fell over.
Oh, he got so giddy.
And I was like, what? I was 20 something years of reading comics is going to pay off, because like I'd always had something in the back of my head in terms of like what would it look like to write, because I can't draw for anything. And so I was like, it's going to be the writing part. And I was like, we'll figure that part out. And so then when I read all the detail pieces and that everything had to fit within 21, 22 pages, I was like, I got it. And so I literally pulled out all my favorite comics and then the stuff that I was currently reading, and just started using that as the guideposts of like what I wanted to plot out. And then like quickly figuring out ways to frame everything script wise. And Ray, you're amazing. Una diosa, just for even being able to follow whatever crazy scheme. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was really good.
I think I loved the opportunity to build the wake in terms of like having it be a small town feel, but then, and not to plug a different thing, but the fact that like Estella was able to like have this moment, figure out she has a thing, and then her brothers are in on it, and then the whole family's in on it. And then when we saw Blue Beetle, I was like, that's the shit we just did. So it was this really great moment of like it is a community that like can do a thing. And
well, I think that's realistic to just our culture, right? Like we don't necessarily, I don't know. I feel like if we saw more like Latina superheroes, like everybody's familia and cousin and prima, and like everybody would be involved, and they would know that it's the whole family affair. And it's not as, I feel like in other worlds, it's like it's a secret and nobody knows, and your family rejects you. Whereas like,
there's no way you keep a secret like that from your family.
No, there's no way.
Your mother, right?
And I thought about,
they're right here all the time.
Right? Yeah. ¿En dónde te vas a meter para que no se enteren? They're gonna find out. Like,
comparten cuarto y entran cuarto y no cierran puerta. This is because I know some taco, but like, how's that?
Yeah, there's aquí no hay privacidad. I'll take your door off.
So I thought about like, I even thought about like Spider-Man and him hiding it from Aunt May, and I was like, that shit would not work. That's not real. Like Aunt May would be the first one to figure it out if she were Mexicana or Puerto Rican or what. Like it'd be like 5 seconds. Like you already
estás comiendo already. Like you walk in.
¿Dónde vas? ¿Con quién?
¿Dónde vas?
¿Cómo? It's all that, right? So in building
that's my mom.
Character,
same.
We thought about, well, we wanted to make sure that I wanted to push even on the idea of what both being Mexican but then also Latinidad looked like, and I wanted it to reflect us, like having the dad be Dominican and the mom be Mexican is the flip on us, right? And so I thought it was cute. Like I was like, what's a nice way to make a nod at the reality of our house? And so like that was a nice.
And I think many multicultural, especially like, you know, us living in Houston, there's very few people, couples and, you know, young people that we meet that are just like straight one, like I'm full Mexican or I'm full Dominican. It's like Mexican and Salvadorian, Honduran and Ecuadorian. Like there's always something else. You know, there's like sort of a mezcla. There was, you know, just kind of that, I think just kind of a nod to sort of that multiculturalism, if you will, in there as well.
Yeah. Definitely the family dynamic was a lot of fun to read as well. And we figured that that you probably pulled a lot from like your own experiences and so forth. And there was a lot. And it's one of those things where as we're like, you know, having to cut because, you know, for those who are watching or listening who don't realize this, you know, you really can only fit so many words on a particular page, only so many words on a panel, or else it'll just be like the word bubbles. And then like Ray's art would be like peeking from in between the word bubbles. It would be tough. But I was like, wow, no, this totally needs a novelization where we get like the full extent of it. It was so funny. Oh my God, so hilarious. It was great. It was great. But yeah, you know, that's one of the craft tricks. It's like, how do you, you know, when I did my first comic script, which was for Clockwork Curandera, and you know, Lee and Low, they bought it. They loved the idea and so forth. But the very first thing I had to do was go in and carve the hell out of that script because it was just so wordy. And even then, to this day, Raul Gonzalez, Raul III, will tell you that he was like, David, you're just making my so hard. Just you're not giving the art any room to breathe. And I had to learn alongside an illustrator, what really how you make a comic script work. And but to me that's part of the fun, right? It's like figuring stuff. And you guys have both written in multiple genres, and we'll circle back to talk to you about your projects, but hopefully you found this rewarding in the terms of playing around with a different genre.
It's awesome.
Once it was written, I was excited to see what Ray was going to do with it. I was like, no, this come to life. And then, and then when it happened, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was really exciting. And I'm not, he's the comic book nerd. Like I'll go watch all the movies based on comic books. but he's the one that'll sit and read them. And I think what was nice too is that I had just finished working on the translation of Claribel Ortega's graphic novel Rizos. So unfortunately, I did have some of that, in my head and thinking about, again, what the illustrations could do, what the artwork could do versus what, we needed to have in the text and all that. So I think that was definitely helpful because I was
I was wondering about that. I couldn't remember what the timeline had been like when you had translated Rizos.
Yeah, because I think we started working. You offered us this about a year ago now,
something like that.
Yeah. So I worked on Rizos last April, May, June-ish. So it wasn't super, super close, but I definitely, I was still going through copy edits and doing that kind of thing.
So it was fresh on your mind still,
yeah, definitely. And sort of, I had just kind of finished that project to then be like, oh, okay. I know what this is. Whereas I think if I'd gotten your email and hadn't worked on Frizzy Rizos at all, I'd be like, oh no, David, you picked the wrong person because I am not, this is not. But I also like a challenge. I felt like it was a way for me to grow as a writer. And even if it's not something that I'm always actively pursuing, I can say I did that. And, I feel a little more comfortable exploring that space. And it's funny too, because as a writer, even when I'm not outside of graphic novels or comic books, I do visually tend to see my characters doing, I'm a very scenic writer. When I write fiction, I'm this scene and then this scene and then that scene. And I see it in my head to where I'm man, I really honestly believe in another life, I was a film director too. Cause I do a storyboard a lot in my head.
Okay.
I'm not a good visual artist in any way, shape or form. I'll write the heck out of a concrete poem, but that's as much as you'll see me do.
But you still try to be cinematic. And I would say that, your novel and your most recent novel in verse feels really cinematic in lots of places as well.
Yeah, I try. So I visually can see it, even if I don't know how to make it happen. So that's why I love when there are folks like Ray who can.
Speaking of Ray, Hector, why don't you take us into a conversation with Ray?
No, sí, Ray, hablando de las artes, ¿cómo fue tu proceso? ¿Qué fue, además, el proceso y cuáles son tus influencias de tu arte? Puede ser como la manga o historietas norteamericanas.
Yeah. And your character designs. Oh my God, so great.
Yeah, the character design.
Yeah.
Okay, so hablando de character design, esta es la primera vez que lo voy a decir y que convivo con Jasminne y Lupe. Me metí de chismosa a sus perfiles de Instagram. Hacen alguna pequeña aparición en el cómic, ahora que puedan medio ojearla. Y los gemelos son luz.
¡Oh! Yeah. Okay, tengo que mirarlo más cerca entonces.
Sí,
para
igual.
Luz, busqué un montón como de fotos, como de referencias y así, porque el texto era como súper familiar. Era muy, muy familiar. Y era como, es que este puede ser mi tío y mi prima pudo tener superpoderes a los 16. Entonces dije como, ok, esto, además me encantó que justo que me tocara hacer equipo con ustedes, que eran como pareja, y entonces dije como, claro, ok, tengo como que rescatar algunos detalles para que este cómic hable de los tres. Y en cuanto vi a Luz, dije, aquí están los gemelos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Entonces, hacen alguna aparición ahí. Estela los salva de spoiler. Por alguna escena, ya les estaré diciendo. So, yeah, I was so happy that you include, like, her hair, like, in braids. I was like, oh. Porque como David dijo, justo Junko, que es mi novia, y yo lanzamos un libro infantil sobre cabello chino o cabello rizado, y es algo como muy importante para nosotras y que quería resaltar, y de hecho me puse a investigar cómo dibujar diferentes texturas para que tuvieran como diferentes texturas el papá, los gemelos, Estela, la mamá. Entonces yo así como sí, y soy súper nerd de los cómics, como dijeron al inicio. O sea, look, here.
Oh my God!
Awesome. And Captain Marvel, like tattoo. So yeah. Y fue muy chistoso el hecho de que yo llegara a este proyecto porque me gustan mucho los cómics, pero dejé de leerlos en preparatoria, en high school, porque era como, ok, me veo así, soy lencha, soy nerd, ok.
Oh, wow.
No sé cómo lo hice.
Pero estuvo muy bien, soy lencha y ¡paz!
Lencha, ¡guau!
Queer pride. Boom. Yeah.
Hasta el internet lo sabe. Entonces dije como, ok, ya son muchas capas. Si agrego como los cómics, es como una capa extra como de, ok, she's weird. So lo dejé de lado, como por muchos años. Y en pandemia, como ya no me sentí juzgada por la gente, lo retomé. Y fue cuando tuve la oportunidad de hacer una pieza para otra casa editorial, de la casa de Superman y Batman. Y por eso terminé tatuándome a Hot Girl, porque gané con una pieza con una ilustración de ella. Y entonces dije, pues voy a retomar como esto de los cómics porque me gusta mucho. Y en Twitter, me rehúso a llamarle su nuevo nombre.
No.
Yeah. Puse como, me gustaría trabajar en más cosas relacionadas a los cómics. Nunca había hecho uno, no sabía el proceso, pero dije, ¿quién quita? Y unos meses después me llegó un mensaje de David y también por Behance, y así como, pues mira, nos recomendaron tu perfil, no sé qué, y resulta que alguien que ni siquiera me sigue lo vio, y luego vio un tweet meses después que estaban como buscando artistas latinex y demás, y me terminó recomendando, y así llegué al proyecto, y así como que todo se acomodó. Y en cuanto leí la historia y todo, dije como, sí, claro, esto era para que trabajáramos juntos y como para nosotros. Sí. Entonces, eso, como que me gustó mucho el proyecto, y así como, sí sentí esa vibra familiar y lo sentí justo más realista que mi mamá a los 2 segundos habría sabido que yo tengo superpoderes, o sea.
Eso no sé.
Like, there's no way.
No way.
Entonces, eso, así terminé como llegando al arte y a los cómics y en este caso a The Wake.
Me encanta.
That's awesome.
Love it.
That is so cool. It's just like the way the universe could sometimes put these beautiful things in our path. And of course, I mean, I found out about Rey because of Junko. I didn't realize that they were a couple at a time, but you know, I'm like a really big fan of Junko's work, and had been like on a panel with her, just like followed her, and through following her, you know, stumbled across Rey's work, and then happened to go. I went through your little tree, your like LinkedIn tree or whatever, your like on Instagram you have like a tree, I can't think what it's called, and ended up on your Behance page. Saw that and I was like, all right, hagámoslo. She's down for it. Let's do it. And to me, that's the magic of what we do with Chispa, is that we are trying to bring together really talented people who are working on things that are like adjacent to comics and get them like involved in comics, because most of us love comics or love, you know, the blending of text and art. And if we're going to be creating something that's different from the mainstream anyway, we might as well create it with people who are maybe not normally involved in comics, because otherwise you're just gonna get the same old, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so no, I mean, it's just really great, and it's a really good combination of of story and style. And I you know, it is good. There are going to be people, everybody's going to enjoy it. It's a great story. The pacing is fantastic. The art is really singular. It's, again, there will be some people who'll pick it up and they'll go, wow, I haven't ever really seen anything like that before. And we'll be like, yep, that's the whole point. This is, you know, to give you something you haven't seen before, to have you try something new. And there's tropes in it. There's tropiness, you know, it is, after all, you know, a teenage girl who on her 18th birthday, like all of the members of the 13, receives powers that are related to her Mesoamerican day sign. And, you know, I don't know if we've been clear about it, but the wake runs really, really fast because she's like our answer to the Flash or Quicksilver or something like that. But she is like really, really centered in family in a way that even the Flash, who was notoriously like obsessed with his family, but like in his case, his mom is dead, his dad's in prison, and that's like what you get sometimes.
Yeah, right. It's always so.
Yeah,
I mean,
you get the family out of the way, right?
Right. It's like, and for us to, and it's one of the things hard to connect, right? Because it's like, does it have to have such a turbulent, negative, you know, sad, tragic background family in order to be? No, I mean, and it's like, this one is the things the story speaks. You know, Jasminne and Lupe, you know, it's just that it's authentic, and like they said, you know, this story came before Blue Beetle, the movie. And so, and it's one of those that transcends, and that it has some quality work. I mean,
ironically, when we got the details and logistics, and when we got the wake, and that Estela's powers were speed based, I cracked up laughing because I could use my experience running track in high school and like use that as part of the basis. And like the most turbulent thing that I could think of in high school was that my parents never went to any of my track meets because my mom worked at en enfermera. Ella trabajaba 18 horas. So like she would go to work, take like a lunch break, go back to work. And then my dad was out with his boys. And so for track meets on a Saturday morning, I would just be me on the bus to go to our track meets, and then ¿Cómo te fue? Me fue bien. Órale. And it just was a regular, it wasn't a big deal. It was matter of fact. And to me, that felt like I could, that we could roll with that. Like that's going to be a part of the story. Let's see where this goes. And it just kind of molded itself within what this existence was for this kid in a small town just north of big Houston City. And so it was an easy, comfortable shoe to step into when in regards to that. So it was,
I will have to say, Lupe had to bring me down from a lot of things that I thought super speed meant or how super speed functioned. And he was like, that's not how that works.
I like, we're going to read this thing.
It's like, oh,
read this issue.
He's like, no,
you're going to read.
I was like,
this
maybe her
issue.
braids or what can, he's like, no, that's not how that works.
That's insensitive.
And I was like, oh.
What did she want to do with her braids? Wait a minute, I gotta hear
I
that.
don't even remember.
Like vibrate.
Like
Yeah,
she wanted her hair to spin.
I wanted it to do something when she got really fast. I
Like
wanted what it's like
a propeller.
I
was like, no, take care.
This is not this is not Sonic the Hedgehog, ma'am.
Yeah. That's not how that works.
Not Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog.
No.
I would sometimes just come in like, you know, a hole over something and be like, what about this? And he's like, no. He's like, laws of physics do not support that.
What also kept ringing in my head was the fact that these were all origin stories. And I was like, we have to capture, like this is going to be the anchor for this character. Yeah. Unless they reboot this and like completely do a multiverse thing. Eso tiene que ser la raíz, la fundación de todo. Entonces de aquí va a ser lo que va a ser en el resto de su vida por estas páginas, pero en este universo esto tiene que ser la cosa más calmada en esta entrada. Like in this moment, this is what it is, and it's going to be one little plant, and her old man and her birthday, and let's get some gym clothes on and save the world. Like,
yeah, and I mean, and that simplicity I think is important, and you know, the it works really well. So right now, of course, we've got Terry Blass writing the miniseries that comes right after the origin stories, which is The Rise of the Five. It's a 6-issue miniseries in which the characters, it's when they first go off to college. And he has read all the scripts, looked at all the art, and and has taken what you guys have established in the first issue and these origin stories, and then uses that as a basis for the character interactions. It's like super important. That's why we were like, when we brought you on board, we were like, okay, not only are you, this is not going to be like what other people are going to be doing in the future, where they're going to be taking the characters and writing stories, and they're going to get paid for writing the story, and and maybe they'll probably get royalties on the sale. But you guys are like helping us to like flesh out their families, and so you get kind of like you're not thought of necessarily as like co-creators, but you're given this in to all the future iterations of this character in other media. So like TV, film, video games, whatever. You get brought on to be the touchstone for the character's look and behavior and stuff like that. So it was really, really important that we hand the characters to people who would be able to do that well. And I think that you understood the assignment. And the good thing about working together is that you were able to balance each other out, right? And that's really great. I'm just going to show people really quickly the 4 different covers that different artists, including Rey, did for this. Let's see if I can find it. This is like one of the weirdest interfaces for sharing the screen of all time. I mean, I do like StreamYard, but it's a little weird.
So Lupe, what are you reading right now?
I'm reading all of the Fall of X miniseries stuff. Titans. I just started up on Green Arrow.
Ooh.
I'm very much a DC head.
Yeah, most of my books are DC. I mean, it's like I read Marvel, but I read the main,
right.
Grandes, right?
But the funny part was, as a kid, en la casa era puro español, so real little, comencé a aprender inglés leyendo comics. So like, it was always Batman or Wonder Woman, and then I would read the Smash and Pow and all that stuff, and I started figuring out English.
Can I say just real quick also, in translating Rizos, I did not realize how different onomatopoeia was in Spanish.
I see.
Ay, Dios mío. Like, es Pow y sassy chats, and like I was like, wait, is different, like screech is cheese, and like it's
all the SFX that you have to put into
sound effects. It's different from English to Spanish, which is something I just had never really thought about. So,
boom, toma,
yeah,
¿no?
yeah.
Sí.
No.
Boom.
It's different.
¿Y tú, Dre, qué estás leyendo ahorita? ¿Qué sigues?
Yo soy más de Marvel.
Ah, sí, ok.
Entonces estoy como retomando ahorita la nueva serie que sacaron de Capitana Marvel.
Ok.
Pero, y aquí voy a hacer un comercial y
sí,
shout out to my girlfriend. De tanto que yo empecé a leer cómics y a ir de nuevo a las tiendas, porque yo le decía, no, o sea, no estoy comprando para mí, es material que necesito para trabajar en el cómic, claramente.
Yes.
Sí. De pronto Yumko me acompañó y igual dejó como su amor por los cómics como pausado, lo retomó y ahora tiene un círculo de lectura de cómics donde leemos cómics como indies y que es lo que más le gusta. Entonces he descubierto un montón como de arte y de artistas que no tomaría como del librero por mi propia cuenta. Entonces les recomiendo mucho a Rambi. cualquiera de sus series, es muy bueno. Y también quiero agradecerle porque ella era mi modelo para poder hacer como las posiciones y poses de los personajes, porque yo le decía como, justo así como, ok, este es el script, esta es la escena. Eres una chica de high school y te acabas de enterar que el chico que te gusta va caminando para ti, y ya le decía, y actuaba, y yo como, foto. Siguiente escena, y así. Entonces me ayudó mucho también como para esto.
Phenomenal. That's awesome.
I love the idea of having your girlfriend just be the person who poses, or
a live model.
Family. Yeah, having your kid, having whoever is around, your children, your wife, your husband. It is so cool. All right, let's see. I'm gonna try this once more. Here we go. So y'all can see here, we went for the first three. We wanted to do variants of the covers, and so you'll see at the top left, one of the two, because there's two different versions of this cover that Rey did, that show Estela in her normal school clothes, and kind of superimposed on images of her moving into her running motion, and it's striking. The colors are really, really vibrant. She's got the attitude that comes across in the script is really, really great. She's a self-assured girl who doesn't take any nonsense from anybody, but she also deeply loves the people around her. And it's a really, really great character. And y'all have set her up for some major success as a leader, because the first three, Sopilote, Pyroclast, and the Wake, these are our versions of the DC Trinity, right? This is our versions of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. They're going to shoulder the leadership roles in the future, and they needed to have the right personalities for that, and big, bold personalities, and y'all nailed it perfectly. And then so I like to see these covers, and the order that I kind of put them here is this interesting evolution of. So we before we even knew too much about her, we had commissioned an image of the three. Remember who was the artist on that for that image that we put out?
Right. Well, the artist we got
the original, the one where all three of them are together. That promotional image that we did.
Oh yeah, Ariel Méndez.
Yeah, that's right, Ariel Méndez. And he did an interesting version of her in this kind of suit, and so that's something that, even though that suit doesn't appear in the book, it's going to be her official uniform down the road. And so a lot of illustrators just take Ariel's art and base it on that, and I thought it was great. So we want to see her in her street clothes and in what will eventually be her her outfit, right, which is essentially an adaptation of a speed skier outfit, exactly, right? Yeah. So because she needs to protect herself from the speed. Apparently not her hair, though. Her hair can flap around. Yeah. I would not be want to be the dumb ass who is behind her when she's running, and the hair whips around and smacks somebody. You're talking about, oh man. Yeah. So I think we're gonna have to take we're not going to do Jasmine's spinning braids. At some point, there's got to be something cute, and I just think it would be hilarious. I'm going to even recommend to Terry that he have Coneja say something and when you're running really fast, does your hair spin? Jasmine, this is going to be
totally Coneja would say. Right?
Yeah, it is something that Coneja would say, because she is the kind of bright, airheaded kind of character in the series. And so that cover, that first cover right there, after Rey's, is done by Charlene, my daughter. And then we have the variant cover that's done by Terry Blast at the bottom left. And then we have the cover, and this one is this done by the black and white cover. Who did the black and white cover? Is that also
Ariel too?
That's also Ariel, right? So Ariel took the character that he originally created for that that promotional image we did, and did her in black and white, and there, that last one, and I just thought it would be amusing to show this. This is the kind of this is the The other three are all done by queer people, and this is done by like this. It's really, which is, I mean, look, totally fine, fine. Because she is an 18-year-old young woman who does have physical attributes, right, or whatever. But definitely there is a tendency in the comics world to want to show women superheroes
exaggerate
attributes to some degree, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting because this is like, this is part of like the industry that we're coming into. Like, how do we get people who are not going to be normally inclined to be like, we're like, here, read this comic about the origin story of an Afro-Latina superhero. That may not immediately be like the thing that grabs people's attention, but having a variety of covers that show different iterations of this character and the character in different poses can kind of help to do that. So it is an interesting kind of thing. But she is a really, really fantastic character, and I really can't wait for people to pick this up for Navidad and put it in.
El 27 de diciembre. So.
Yeah, va a salir el 17 de diciembre.
El 27. Okay. 27.
Okay, bueno,
according to lunar right now, right?
All right,
so
Reyes.
That's right. The other Reyes that can come in and shove it in somebody's shoe, roll it up, stick it in.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, what we want to hear from you guys next is, what's up creatively for you? What's your next major project? Before we let you go, we want people to be looking out for you and looking out for your next work. So, Rey, ¿estás trabajando en algo? Or do you have like another picture book or comic book lined up?
Pues justo ahorita estoy en Guadalajara por la feria del libro.
Yeah.
Yay.
Justo acabamos de presentar, Yumko hizo un taller sobre nuestro libro, hemos estado presentándolo por todo el país y también participé en una antología de mujeres escritoras que reseñan a otras mujeres escritoras que las inspiraron.
Wow.
Hubo una ilustradora para cada escritora y me tocó ilustrar a Sor Juana.
No way.
Yeah.
That is too cool.
Y ahora que llegué a la feria, usaron mi imagen para el stand completo de la editorial. Yo me tomé todas las fotos que pude. Yeah,
that's so sweet. So your photo, a photo of the image you did for Sor Juana, that one, right?
Sí,
yeah. Oh,
justo.
Wow.
Y entonces estuvimos como viendo todas esas cosas del libro y ahorita justo estoy como en época de presentaciones de cosas que ya hice. También como para ir tratando de, como soy freelance, mis vacaciones son cuando yo pueda acomodarlas, entonces estoy tratando de hacerlo. Y justo acá en México logré como hablar con la editorial, la tienda de cómics más grande en inglés en México, para que trajera más ejemplares de todos los chispas. Y hablé con una institución que se llama Pocha House para hacer una presentación de Wake en enero. Entonces ya estaremos como afinando detalles.
Super chido.
Y eso, entonces estoy como en época de presentaciones de proyectos.
And for those of you who are wondering about this, since we're talking about it in Spanish, we do have plans for the 13 origin stories to be released in Spanish, but we're going to wait and do it in the graphic novel. So these 13 origin stories are going to be collected into 2 graphic novels that are going to be basically, we're going to be considering them YA graphic novels because the characters are 18 in seniors in high school, and we're going to release those in English and in Spanish. So it'll be the 13 and La Trecena, because that's what they're called in Spanish, La Trecena, which is, I don't even think I've ever had a chance to say that out loud, but yes, that is the name of the team, the 13 in Spanish is La Trecena. So that'll be great. And thank you so much for all the stuff that you do as you're going around promoting your own stuff to promote Chispa. We really appreciate it. I haven't had a chance to tell you thank you, but
el video que hiciste está padrísimo, el de verdad que tomaste en Instagram sobre verdad, y es muy popular, le gustaron muchos.
Yo a todos lados a los que voy es como, ya conoces este nuevo cómic, te va a encantar. Pum, sopilote. next week
Hay que
I'm going to pick up Pyroclast. So yeah.
Sí.
Voy a justo
Yeah, and I love it because this is the really cool thing is because Hector and I will be translating the scripts, and so we've gone through and we were like, okay, so what are we calling all these characters? And it's like when it's Sopilote and Coneja, we're like, we don't have to translate that. Boom, there it is.
Dos menos.
What are you calling the wake when we do the translation?
We're calling her La Estela. Yeah, so it's really funny because that's her name. So this is one of those weird things where when we were creating the characters, we weren't always thinking, oh, we're gonna have to have a Spanish name, and so there are some of them who have like their Spanish name is like a joking reference to their like, and then when you translate, you're like, oh shit, now she's gonna have her identity, her real identity, and her name. But that's cool because this is a universe in which everybody just knows who they are. They are out, and everybody knows who they are, and nobody is. The villains are the ones hiding their identity. The chispas they have no tienen por qué. And like we have said, pues aunque quisieran esconderse de sus familias, sacarían a la luz su identidad de superhéroe, and it would be over because another thing that our families have a hard time doing is keeping chisme to themselves, and so. La voz va a correr por todo el barrio, and it would end up like on the,
Déjame contar lo que
Facebook page. Oh my gosh! Oh, so yeah, no, definitely thank you, and congratulations on all the success that Mi Pelo Chino is having. Have you guys had a chance to do a presentation with Nadia also?
Solo una. Queremos mucho a Nadia, la primera, y las demás han sido o Nadia Yumko, o una sola, o Nadia sola, entonces... Pero
is there an audio version? Is there an audio version of the book in Mixteco? In
No, queremos, estamos viendo también la posibilidad como de sacarlo en diferentes medios y también queremos traducirlo a inglés, entonces queremos como que llegue a más personas.
I'm sure that like some of the promotion you're doing, being there at the Feria Internacional del Libro in Guadalajara is obviously like a big boost for the book, and you get a lot of eyes on it, and that's good.
I hope.
Yeah.
Antes, la pronunciación es Whitezican. You're welcome.
Mexican.
Whitezican.
Sí, como en inglés.
Like
Whitezican.
Yeah.
Whitezican.
Okay.
That hadn't even occurred to me. I kept looking at it because. So I don't know. I've told this to a couple of my friends from Mexico. Originally, the name for somebody from Texas was Texican. So whenever I see it, it like my brain wants to put Texican in there. Anyway, it's kind of funny. So Whitezican. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And there are many of these Whitezicans. Yes.
Oh.
And their little hearts, they're so oppressed. Oh, the Whitezicans, they're.
Oh, I know.
Ay, mi vida.
Pelos de lote les dicen.
¿Qué les dicen?
Pelos de lote.
Pelos de lote.
Pelos de lote. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because they are blonde.
Yeah, they're very blonde, and it's amusing to see them like want to beat their chest and talk about like want to be like U.S. Latinas, right? And be suffering for when, and you're like, dude, you're in Mexico. You are where are you suffering any discrimination at all? Todavía los güeros no sufren la misma discriminación, pero todavía si estuvieran en Estados Unidos, I'd be like, all right, dude, maybe somebody's making fun of you because you're from Mexico, but in Mexico. No. From a upper middle class family with like colored eyes and blonde hair, get the fuck out of here.
Pero deja tú, si vienen acá y no hablan ni una palabra,
pues van a pensar que son
sin nada.
No problem at all.
Out here and doing.
Just don't start talking with your Chilango accent.
Oh, yeah, like, don't open your mouth and you'll be fine. It'll be what oppression? What are you talking about?
pretend like that you're hearing disabled. Oh my gosh, Lupe, what do you have in the future? What's going on for you?
I am in the process. Well, crossing fingers, knock on wood, todo el pedo. I'm shopping around a multi-genre book on the history of desegregation here in Houston. So the book is pretty much a collection of found poems, new poems, interviews, a diary of a former principal who in the 70s, when they desegregated here in Houston, they had created a system in which Black students and Mexican American students were bused to each other's schools. That would fulfill the desegregation federal law. But it would check box everything because Mexicanos are considered white, regardless of skin tone.
That's right.
And because of that concept, you could check off the box and only bus brown kids and Black kids to each other's schools. And no white kid was ever affected in the 70s. And so to countermand this decision by the Houston Independent School District, Mexican families boycotted. And so this will be the second book that's ever written on this topic. It's a small, like 3-4 year history of a boycott, educational boycott for the betterment of community. And so I've gotten the blessing of the original author of a book called Brown Not White.
Yep.
And it's the history of desegregation, very clinical, logistical understanding.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I don't think that you know this. We maybe never talked about it before, but I literally did my doctoral dissertation on James de Anda and school desegregation in Texas. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So then the
I know wherever you speak, it's an important topic. You're right. It is kind of like,
it's missing you'll blink, like blink you'll miss it. I got the blessing from the Dr. Guadalupe San Miguel, who wrote the original book on the history of it. And I asked him, like, what's the thing you could never do with, when time ran out from you writing the book and the grant and everything. And he said, I never got to interview any of the teachers, the kids, or the parents of the Huelga schools from that epoca. And he said, vete, like, go, here's some names, go check them out, see what's up. And so I was able to, from a teacher lens, work on a full manuscript, and I've maybe have some bites. I'm crossing fingers.
He has 3 different presses that have expressed sincere interest.
I know he's being modest.
Sincere interest in
the bottom could fall out tomorrow.
I think at least for sure one of them for sure is very, very interested. The other 2 is kind of like, okay, you kind of have to.
Well, so right now I'm just hoping to see where it goes, but that's a collection that I'm trying to put out in the world because I started presenting some of the work from it in different spots and then realized this will be the second book on this whole topic. So I'm gonna just
it's an important topic. So kudos to you for doing it. So awesome. Anything that I can ever do to help, just let me know.
But ready, listo.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Hey, Jasmine, what about you? What do you got in the pipeline? What's going on?
What can I talk about?
That you can talk about, obviously. Yeah. That your publisher won't get mad at you tomorrow for.
Yeah. So vaguely, I can share that I am working on a picture book project, an unannounced picture book project. Well, I mean, picture books, I didn't realize how long these things take. So yeah, we're in search of an illustrator. So that's why it is still unannounced. But it is in the works. I'm really excited. It is a very Dominican book. So that's exciting as well. And Aniana del Mar Jumps In was like a 2-book deal. So I'm working on, it's not a sequel, but it's like, I'm working on another book to fulfill that contract, which is also kind of in limbo right now, just because of editors and, you know how it goes. So that's that, but that's in the work. It's another novel in verse, and it's looking at some of the, not specifically book banning, but like this idea of like banning ethnic studies and just kind of parents, and being ridiculous about what teachers can teach, and sort of this young Latina activist theater, using guerrilla theater to fight fight back. So I'm excited to continue working on that. And then I have submitted, actually, I'm collaborating with another writer. We've adapted Aniana del Mar Jumps into a one-act musical, and we've submitted it to a few, theaters and playwright development workshops. It has received one grant, thankfully, from the Children's Theater Fund, which is exciting. And now we're just kind of waiting to hear from these other places to see if it will receive more support to develop the script and the music and the songs a little bit further. So I'm really excited to continue working on that. And yeah, I mean, I've got a couple, potentially a translation project, but that's still kind of in limbo also. So yeah, fairly full plate coming into 2024, but I can't complain. It's all good stuff.
That is really, really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Where can people find y'all if they want to know more?
Aquí en mi casa. No, bien plantado aquí. I think I'm on all the socials except for Snapchat. So
you usually go by
it's at the Poet Méndez.
Yeah.
For I think everything except Facebook. Yeah. Facebook is like Lupe Méndez .33 algo, no sé qué. But yeah, I'm pretty active on the socials.
You lurk a lot.
That
you don't post a lot, but you.
I don't post too much, but I do read and retweet. I'm just engulfed in all the news and just trying to process.
Yeah.
I'm writing and doing, and it's just so much stuff that's there. So yeah.
I am at Jasminne Méndez, 2 N's and an E, MENDEZ. That's my website, Instagram, pretty much Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. I was very active on TikTok for a while, but I'm not really anymore. But I still have videos on there. You're welcome to peruse my TikTok era, my very brief TikTok era.
It's just so much work, man.
It's so much work. And I was doing it at a time when I think I was like on deadline and I just needed something to do other than be on deadline. And then I just kind of stopped. But yeah, at Jasminne Méndez. So yeah, so you can find me doing all the things.
Nice. Mm-hmm. And I'm at Rey Pelcastre con Y. Sí, yo sí estoy en Snapchat. No lo uso, pero yeah, so en todas las redes. Y así me conocen.
Rey stuff.
Easier that way. We just use the same one in every single.
Yeah.
Pregunta, Rey, sidebar conversation. Tu libro de niños, el picture book, ¿ha sido traducido a inglés?
No, justo es lo que estaba diciendo, que queremos traducirlo y queremos llevarlo a otro, justo como expandir el mensaje. Y también nos gustaría una versión, como decía David, en audio, en Tunsavi, leída por Nadia, entonces como llevarlo a todos lados, porque además está la SEP, la Secretaría de Educación Pública de México, lo adquirió un lote para llevarlo a bibliotecas y escuelas públicas.
Yeah.
Ahí va.
You did it again. I don't know.
Right on cue.
Right on cue.
Perfect.
I think it just knows you.
Wow. Sí, no, wow.
Tiene magia.
Rey, estaremos en conversación porque we can figure out a way to bring the book to Houston at least.
Something. To
do some kind of a reading.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, sí, no, nos encantaría.
All I can say is, like, yeah, I mean, everybody who is listening to us, and especially if you happen to be my agent or one of my editors, like, this is an amazing book, just saying.
No, I'm just saying, because I will very quickly say, I was approached by an editor who specifically said, si encuentras algún libro escrito en español que te gustaría traducir a inglés, me dejas saber, y es posible que, you know, and this was with a pretty good publisher here. And
yeah. So we can talk. I don't have a book here, porque se nos acabó. Ya hay reimpresión este mes.
That's a good problem to
me
have.
acaban de decir que en la mochila
Oh,
Wait a minute. Breaking news.
She's like, okay,
Bueno,
I'm in a hotel
Ok,
room.
no
I
voy a
don't know where
encontrar el
everything is.
libro, pero tengo tatuada la portada si funciona de algo.
There you go.
okay.
Yeah, I will literally show it to them.
Y andan buscando el libro.
¿Qué te pasa? Aquí está.
Sí.
Let me show them. Let me show it to everybody.
Ay, qué bonito.
That's
So cute.
beautiful.
Adorable.
Pelo chino.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, yeah, es Entonsabi, traducido por Nadia,
leernos.
escrito por Yumko. So, yeah.
Sí, porque esta empresa está bien interesada en traducir libros escritos en español y traducirlos a inglés y para publicarlo aquí en los Estados Unidos.
Wow, sí.
Entonces me dijo, si encuentras algún libro escrito en español que te gusta, me dejas saber, like I can approach her and say, you know, I want to translate this book and, you know, go big, maybe, you know, so
Yeah.
if te
Muchas
interesa
gracias,
or
sí.
you're looking, you know, it's something that you're interested in doing, I'd love to just read it and see.
Ya es justo, les contaba que estamos en la feria de Guadalajara.
Oh, wow, qué bien.
Ya, presentando y llevando el libro a todos lados a donde nos lleven. Entonces,
Sí, es un sueño de nosotros poder ir a la feria de libros en Guadalajara.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's so good.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to go this year, but I'm going to New York on the 30th, so I couldn't. But yeah, just such a delight.
We really want to go.
Yeah. Vengan, yo vengo, nos conocemos.
Yes.
Sí, porque su familia vive en Jalisco, que solo es como
Wow.
minutos.
Ya. Tengo familia en Totonilco, so queda como 40 minutos.
Yeah.
So esto es muy más.
So Agustin Loredo asked a question. He said, what are some of the ways that your books will present some of the issues within our cultura, especially with relationships with other groups? Do we have any of that? I don't think there's like a lot of like Latinos contra otros grupos. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, not in this. I mean, not in our
I think a tip of the hat, like we had talked to earlier, was the fact that, like, in addition to the fact that these are Mexican characters, Mexican American characters, that we were able to throw in the mix the multicultural aspect of the fact that this kid is half Dominican and half Mexican. It adds a layer to the possibilities of range, because when we talk about indigenous identity, like there are more than, now we've added another layer of what this could look like for future exploration in this frontera, right? And so what does that look like in the dynamic of where these individuals are? And then looking at the geography of the space, like we purposely talked about making sure that this character resided in the Gulf Coast. And so the fact that they're a Latina individual who resides in an oil town, that is its own history. Baytown is a history rich in Mexican culture, but then it's also just as diverse. Like there are other sects of Latinidad that live in town. There are tons of Central Americans, a growing population of both Puerto Rican and Venezolano students are there, and so it's like an entire opportunity for other future writers to take the character and do things connectivity wise.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this issue specifically, there's not any of that sort of what you might see of like, you know, anti-Blackness or racism, right, between like Latina culture, like folks, right, in the community specifically. But I'm sure that, yeah, there's definitely, because of who she is and her character, you know, that there's that the door is open for that, right, for that possibility, right, to occur.
And it does show up in some of the other of the 13 origin stories. So, you know, each one grapples with things differently. They're all very community based, because something we asked. We want to see their families. They are 18-year-olds in Latina families. We want to see that. And these are more specifically like mostly Mexican or mixed families. And so a lot of the issues are community based. And in those communities, a lot of times it'll be a land developer or, you know, some other shady person who's coming in, and there aren't a lot of like fighting off like demons and monsters, and one or two books that have, we're trying to make them a little more grounded in these origin stories, there'll be other things like down the road. But I do want to, Lupe brought up, he earlier said something that I thought that I would address real quick, and it's the idea of a reboot or alternate universes. I have said that as long as I'm involved, we will not have a reboot. We are moving forward in real time. There are no other universes. This is the only universe. There aren't alternate versions of these characters. I'm just so tired of all that. I just want stories that are just moving forward, and you're grappling with the after effects of things. There's never any kind of reset button or any whatever. If the Wake gets into has a relationship with one of the other characters and they break up, they will have to deal with that for the rest of their lives because they're on the same team. And so, yes. I will say that these characters are rich, and there's lots of opportunities for all kinds of really cool friendships and relationships. They are working together. They're invariably, there's going to be romances and stuff like that. And already in Rise of the Five, Terry is writing this really, really great gay romance between two of the characters. And that's another thing that we wanted to have in here. And to, as a queer person myself, who is also the father of a bisexual daughter and married to a bisexual, to me, having a variety of different, orientations and gender identities was important as well. So as I mentioned before, I mean, we're going to have a lot, and there's intersectionality out the wazoo. Así es que agárrense, abróchense los guantes. It is an adventure because that's Latinidad. That is the Latina community. And for us to pretend that it's not, that it's all like, European looking Latinas who are Catholics and cishet, good two-shoes. That's not the way it is in the real world. And so why would we reflect that in our Chispaverse either? It doesn't make any sense. Thank you so much for coming on with us and having this great conversation. It was a delight to talk to you. I know you have busy schedules. Luz is there, and you guys are having to handle her and planning your trip into Mexico and so forth. And Rey, you're there at La File, in the middle of promoting stuff. So we're so honored that you took some time out of your schedule to be with us. And we hope that you enjoy your holiday season. Everybody, please be sure to pick up Pyroclast next week, and then the Wake in December.
Buena nota, David. Lo tengo Pyroclast. I got Pyroclast for the 13th, so 2 weeks.
Ooh.
2 weeks. Okay, that's pretty soon. You get those 2 books for the holiday season. One for Navidad, the other for Dia de Reyes, and we'll just move on, right? We can instead, when we make the rosca, instead of putting baby Jesus, we could put like a little chispa in there. I don't know which one. That's probably sacrilegious, right? That's bad.
It's all good.
It's okay. Actually, mi cumpleaños es el 5 de enero y yo odio el pastel, entonces siempre tengo rosca de cumpleaños y le ponemos velas a la rosca.
I love it.
So, yeah.
There you go. Because otherwise, the only way to have the rosca is, yes, I agree with you. Yeah. It is a pretty nasty tasting. In the store-bought, it's like, si vas a Soriana y te compras tu, es horrible. Y de hecho, si vas a una panadería, probablemente no va a ser tampoco muy bien. It's just not as good. It's made once a year. So, like, si haces una cosa una vez al año, pues tampoco, nunca llegas a ser como algo muy rico, ¿no? Es lo mismo. Anyway, we'll stop talking smack about the rosca de Reyes before all of our faithful Catholics stop buying comics from Chispaverse.
Oh no.
It's a fun celebration, and I love going to the party of the person who gets the baby Jesus, and that's awesome. But the cake itself, not all that great, just taste wise. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great holiday season. It was wonderful having you here, Héctor, mi carnal. Cuídate mucho. Our next conversation is going to be on the 17th. We're only going to have one episode in December instead of bi-weekly, because otherwise that would be on the 10th and the 24th, and we're not doing a Christmas Eve episode. So we're cutting.
That'll be sacrilege. No.
That would get us in trouble with our family, right? So We will see you guys really soon. 17th of December.
Yes, sir. Órale.
All right, here we go. Taking you out. Paints the designs that fly from the page to mind, and our minds that inspire ink inscribes ideas and sights.